Welcome to the Geek Initiative Podcast, Episode 5.
The Cost of LARPing.
I'm Tara the Bard.
And I'm Khaleesi.
Today we'll discuss what it costs to enjoy the hobby of live-action role-playing and the struggles people may encounter in affording it.
So Tara, how much does it actually cost to LARP?
That depends on a lot of factors, actually, such as the location, the costuming requirements, and the type of event you're attending. Most campaign LARPs in South Jersey, which is New Jersey, United States, which is where we LARP, they usually last one weekend per month, and they cost around $50. That's not necessarily to say that every type of LARP, is a campaign LARP or costs that much money, but just in our area, what we have experience with, that's what you're looking at. There is a new game called Arcane coming out in Connecticut, and that comes with a price tag of $125. But I've heard a lot about it, and it sounds like you're going to kind of get what you pay for there. Like, you get props that are made for you. If you earn something in game, you actually get like a cool prop. So in some instances, if you're willing to spend more money, you're going to get higher quality in certain aspects. Now that might sound expensive, and I think the $125 a weekend cost is more than most people I know would or could afford per month.
It's like a new costuming piece.
Yeah, it is. That's a corset, man. Okay. So, but like our friend Tina puts it, hey Tina, hi, shout out. If you go to the movies on a Friday night and you get some snacks there, then you're going to pay like close to what it costs to LARP for a whole weekend. And if you add dinner in, then it's even more. So like my husband and I go out to, let's say, the Olive Garden, right?
Ooh.
We're looking at like fancy, right? We're looking at like $25-$30 a piece plus tip.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go out to the movies. We're looking at another like $14 at night.
Well, plus snacks, you're looking
Plus
at more
snacks,
like $20.
So $25 a person. So why do that when we could just go LARPing instead, which is what we often
Make your
do.
own entertainment.
Exactly. Now, games in other places, like festival LARPs and games that take place over a whole week in Europe, cost more. But a lot of those games they're either one-shot games or they're things that happen once per year. So instead of spending your $50 a month on a campaign LARP, you go LARPing like a few times a year and you spend in the thousands. But you're only worrying about one character's costume and all.
And costuming is where a lot of your cost is going to come from. And the first thing you have to consider is what race you're looking at playing. And if you want to play a human, then you're fine. You can probably just show up as you are. But if you don't want to play a human, you're looking at prosthetics such as ears, or maybe you need a duck bill. Special
shout out to Paul.
Special makeup. Maybe you need to paint yourself blue or red or green for the weekend, and depending on the race, you may need wigs or hair extensions that are different colors. You may need wings, you may need fangs, and with the fangs especially, you really do get what you pay for. And that cheap Halloween wig that might be, $20, it's not going to look very good, and by the end of an hour, if you've been in combat, it's just going to turn this horrible, tangled, matted disaster.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're never gonna be able to untangle that. So for some of these pieces, it's better to just shell it a little bit more for the higher quality stuff. And additionally, if you're looking at playing someone who's a merchant or a noble, you're going to need higher quality costuming, or at least something where the cut of it looks a bit higher station. And I find that it's really, really difficult to find non-winchy women's clothing that is also made of materials that you can LARP in. And I've never tried to find armor, but good luck.
Yeah, the armor can be expensive. And again, if you just want to roll into the game, there are different solutions you can have to not look completely amazing and completely outclass everyone else. But sometimes, especially if you're especially a lot of guys, although I know a lot of ladies love to play warriors and that type as well, you are going to play a class that requires armor, or that is infinitely more effective if you have actual physical armor. So leather, plate, chainmail armor, that can be an additional cost. And if you're a lady, this is another place where you're going to find your costs are more expensive. It's really hard to just kind of fit into a pre-made piece of armor, if it was made for a man. In other areas, you're going to save some money. Like some of your costuming is going to be less expensive. You can get away with a lot more, finding a lot more at thrift stores, and it'll be a lot easier for you to find footwear than it will be for guys for the most part. But armor's quite a cost.
Yeah, it's going to have to be custom work pretty much.
Yeah. So armor, it depends on what kind of character you play, and also how the game that you're playing handles armor, especially assuming that you're playing a medieval fantasy game. If you're playing a modern game, you still might need something that looks like a bulletproof vest or something. So overall, even if you just have a basic tabard, belt, or boots, you're looking at about $50 to start, like for the basics. I was actually talking to Mark from LARPing.net, and he said that he ran a game where if the players didn't have appropriate costuming, and this game apparently had high standards for costuming, he actually had t-shirt tunics on hand so the players could buy them. So the t-shirt tunic and a belt, I think he said he was selling them for $10, but to make would probably cost about $15 to $30 because you really want that belt to kind of hold that in. And I think that's really considerate, especially if you're running a game and it has high costuming standards. So, you want to provide something for people if they jump in. And you could rent it out or sell it to them at a low cost, but that's a really nice, affordable way to, refrain from breaking immersion, but also be really friendly to new players.
So now that you've got your costuming, what are you going to be hitting everybody with? You'll need a weapon, most likely. If you're going to play a caster or range character, you're going to want some spell packets. And if your class has any phys reps, a lot of the classes at 7th Kingdom do, then you're really going to want to make sure that you roll into game having those. And we're just talking about basic weapons here, nothing cool like bows or Nerf weapons or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, no, a boffer weapon, depending on the size of the weapon and the materials and your location, it can cost around, I guess, $15 to $40, maybe even a little more. And if you pay someone to make it for you, they're probably going to charge you a little bit for labor unless they're just helping you out. Now, different games also have different weapon requirements. So if you go to different games, you might need different gear. Even with just boffer weapons, that can vary based on what kind of foam you use, what kind of pipe is allowed in the weapon. Now, I have those pretty foam Kalamazoo weapons, and the newer generation Kalamazoo weapons are actually, I don't think they really hurt to get hit with. People vary on what they feel about that. But those are legal at 7th Kingdom IGE, and I do use them properly when I use them. So they're legal at 7th Kingdom. But if I wanted to go play at Mystic Realms, which is another popular game in South Jersey, they are not legal there. I'd have to take a boffer. Now, I could use a striking shield at Mystic Realms. That's kind of cool. And the combat works a little bit different, and it's done in a way that you can use a striking shield. But you could not use that at 7th Kingdom, especially with, the level of intensity and the combat works a little differently, and that would be really unsafe at 7th Kingdom. So different games, different equipment. Make sure you know what's allowed at the games you're going to. Usually, within the certain geographic location, like a standard boffer, you could take to different games. Like, you could take, I think the same boffer weapon probably to 4 or 5 different LARPs in the immediate area that would also be completely legal at 7th Kingdom. Also, they're going to have more or less rigorous safety inspections depending on where you go, so just make sure they're fixed up before you go to each one.
Well, that's generally good because yay, safety.
Yes.
Now, if you're playing a caster or some sort of range fighter, if your game has packet archery, then you're going to want to make sure that you bring a lot of packets. Take as many as you think you need, and then at least triple that because you really don't want to run out of spells or arrows in the middle of a big fight. So if you're going this route, it's going to be a little bit more cost effective. You just need a sheet or a large piece of fabric that you don't mind cutting up. Could be an old sheet, could be an old curtain, whatever. You'll need birdseed to fill it with, and rubber bands. That's it. Usually games will make any of the class phys reps that you might need inexpensive. So sometimes it might be a pain to find them. You may have to order them online. You may be able to make them yourself, but generally I think games try to keep those pretty accessible to people because everybody's got to have that.
And like at Seventh Kingdom, for example, if you're a witch, you can give people favors and make them your favored, and that grants certain bonuses. Now a favor is like a special phys rep you need, but it's not really expensive to make. There's really nothing cost prohibitive about it.
Yeah, I've been pressed and forgot to bring my actual nice embroidered favors, so I just took a sheet of something and scribble on it with a Sharpie.
And I think that's the best way to do it. Like, I think Seventh Kingdom sets a really good standard for how to do that. Like, you can use a sheet that's drawn on with Sharpie. That's fine. But you're going to get more out of it if you go the extra mile and embroider it. And they'll actually reward you for creating nice props like that and wearing nice things like that. So I really feel like that's more inclusive, for your players. Like, that way you can welcome new players into the game, and instead of just punishing people for not having amazing clothing on their second event, why not reward them as they do better? Give them some kind of in-game reward for it. I personally feel like that's how you should be encouraging them. Now, additionally, you don't want to forget any camping gear that you have.
That could go badly.
Fortunately, most LARPers are like super nice. I've never been to a game where people aren't like, no, you can't use my bug spray. Usually if you forget something like that, someone will help you out, but that leads to like, I gotta break immersion to ask, but safety's first. It's better to just be prepared with your own stuff if you can. Thank you, Carrie, for lending me your bug spray last weekend, by the way. I obviously was not prepared.
Thank you, Sarah, for lending me your bug spray. I could not find mine.
So, yeah, camping gear. I want to say 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, at Seventh Kingdom, we were over at a different camp than we usually are at.
We were even there last April.
Yeah, we were. The last April, it was May. The last May I was cool because I already had my camping gear. The time before that, I had no camping gear, so my husband and I actually had to go out and drop a certain amount of money on camping stuff. And, you just have to be wary of those costs. Some LARPs always go on camps or on other sites where there is nothing, so you have to bring everything you need. Other games run where they have cabins and showers. So know what you need, and cost-wise, you got to prepare for that.
And we should probably stick in here food. Maybe your LARP will have a microwave. Maybe they don't. You probably want to ask around beforehand because you don't want to show up with, however many packs of Easy Mac and find out that, nope, this is the kind of camp where you have to have a campfire and you're cooking over a fire because that's not going to work.
You can't just stick that in the microwave. So find out what the food situation is. I think you should also always come to the game with at least 20 extra bucks for whatever emergencies you need, or if you have to run to a convenience store. Around here we have Wawa, but I know a lot of people don't know what Wawa is beyond our territory. Those poor souls that still have Wawa. But Wawa is a convenience store that is conveniently located around many campsites. So just in case you have to run out and you need cash, or someone runs out for you, then you don't have to give them your credit card, you've got cash. Most schemes also accept cash for additional stuff. So if you end up finding that you do have more money and you wanted to buy at 7K, it would be more build or put money on your tab.
To put food in your stomach.
Yes.
Or seconds of food.
Then you have money, which is good.
Probably good to bring a few extra energy bars or something along with you.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be super period, bring some apples.
Yep, just something else.
Bring some food.
So now that the initial costs are covered, let's talk about accessibility, which is actually really what prompted this discussion in the first place, between some chats that were going on over in the LARP Haven Facebook group and hearing about this new LARP Arcane that sounds really awesome, but also hearing about how much it costs. I've kind of been thinking about, hey, are these games all accessible to everyone or to all LARPers? So obviously different people have different income levels. Some LARPers are students, some are unemployed, some have six-figure incomes, and I know people that fall into all those categories. And I've been in a couple of those categories over time. Can't say I've ever had a six-figure income, but I've been comfortable and I've been unemployed and not fun. Now, like I said, I've been comfortable financially while LARPing, and I also hit a really low point while I've been LARPing. I've basically avoided homelessness because people I met through LARPing let me live with them for a little bit. And, yes, I have and would do the same for others. So I'm really coming at this from both perspectives. I've been the person there with, some of the best costuming, and I've also been the person that's been, feeling guilty that I spent money on gas to come LARPing. And this is the part where it comes about realism and elitism, because you want your game to look realistic. You want to present yourself as realistic to other PCs, but it's also to a point. Is the game going to turn people away because they're not in costume? I think it's really easy to look at a game like the aforementioned Arcane and say, hey, that sounds like it's going to be, just too cost prohibitive, or just the bar is going to be set too high for me to play, or snobby.
I definitely worry about that.
Yeah, and it's one thing reading $125, and it's another thing hearing, one of the game creators in another podcast talk about the game. And that's what makes me still open to possibly spending $125 to go to that game. Now, I haven't played in that game. I know there are other games like Avagos that have a very high level of decorum, as they call it. And I haven't played either game, so I don't actually know what it's like there. But they have the right to be that way. But I think all games should be careful about how they present the cost to players, because a higher cost is more prohibitive to new LARPers. Now, because they have such stringent requirements, they're actually preventing new and low-income LARPers from experiencing the hobby. Because, really, are you going to blow, a few $100 on something that you've never tried before? Maybe not. Not unless you, really plan for it. That said, it's your LARP. If you're running it, and you have the right to run it how you want and have the costuming standards how you want. But I do think it's important in general for a variety of games to exist, so people have different options. If they don't want to spend the $125 a weekend on a game, there are plenty of other games out there that are, $5 to $50, depending on what you're looking for. Now, I think I'm ready to kind of attend a game with a higher standard of costuming than is required at other games, even though I think most of the other games I go to do have really good costuming. But I also want to always feel welcome at games where there aren't these crazy high standards of costuming. And I feel like I'll probably always feel more comfortable at games where the standards of costuming aren't as stringent. Because it's also where you meet nice new players who are
new players.
Yay,
we love new players.
So interested in this hobby. And you're not always interacting with the same people. And, it's kind of I'm at a point in my LARPing career where it's do I want to just take on more of a mentorship role to people that are new? Do I want to just hang out? Do I want to be the new person, the small fish in a bigger sea? Which isn't necessarily a better sea, by the way, but I think it's kind of cool to go out and learn new stuff and meet new people, but it's costly.
And I think we need to be really careful that we don't end up with this sort of great divide of LARPs. And as our friend Nana, yay, another shout out, always says, we're all nerds running around the woods, hitting each other with foam and plumbing supplies. In costumes, let's be real here.
Yes.
And it's fine to have high standards of costuming and immersion, and obviously everybody would, in an ideal world, could have that, but I really don't want to see elitist attitudes scaring people away from the hobby. I don't want people looking at all these LARPs and being oh gosh, these people are such snobs, I'll never be good enough.
Yeah.
Why should I even try,
And I've also actually been, I wouldn't say criticized, it may be a point that's been brought up against anytime I make some kind of opinion or broad statement about LARPing. The opinion has been like, hey, you haven't attended a variety of LARPs in different genres and locations. Now, since I play a regular campaign LARP, 7th Kingdom IGE, I want to keep up with the costs of attending the games and the time commitment of attending those games. And I do also want to go out and explore other games. And, I want to go out to Connecticut and try Arcane. And my husband, who is, of course, in my household, he also LARPs. He introduced me to LARPing. And so if we go, up to Connecticut and we go to Arcane, that's, our vacation for a year. Some people go to Disney World. Sometimes we go to Disney World. But this time we might go LARPing. It's, expensive. It's taxing enough on our income level that we'd have to plan ahead for it. And, we have to pay someone to watch the dog and, all that kind of thing. All the gas, because it's far to travel. And it looks really cool, so I really want to try it. But it's, it's a lot. Just the cost of 10 is, $250. So, because it's the both of us. So, yes, it sucks. I haven't experienced 20 different genres in 30 different countries.
And gone to one of those big European festival LARPs.
Guess what? I wish I could, because I do all of those things. I have in the past year, I'd say, gone to different genres, and I'm especially looking forward to attending to LARPs outside the medieval fantasy genre, to kind of expand my horizons, but the costs are really prohibitive. And if you go to a LARP outside of your genre, right, then that's less costuming I can reuse.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I went to a game like Dystopia Rising, for example, that's affordable for me. It's not too far. And, at least with that kind of game, I could use a lot of, street clothes. But, if you go to something that's set in, a specific year, or if I went to a steampunk LARP and didn't have steampunk costuming already, then I'd have to buy a whole different type of costuming just to try a different genre.
Or Vespera's stuff for the sci-fi game is incredibly Asian-y inspired. Ariana can't wear any of that. Not a stitch of that.
No, that would not work for your 7K character.
At all. And actually, people at 7th Kingdom tend to ask me why I never play an alt, or if they'll always suggest, hey, why don't you just play an alt, mix it up, and it's the same thing. I can't just drop all of that money for new costuming and weapons, because I really want to keep the same level of costuming that I have for my main. But this is just going to be a one-off character, and a lot of my main characters' things, they need maintenance, they need to be replaced, or winter is coming, and I need winter gear, I need new boots, and things for that. So while I could borrow clothes and weapons from people, it's pretty unlikely that you can always create a totally distinct character without having to buy something that you might never use again.
That's actually turned me off. Speaking of a one-off character, that's actually turned me off from some one-off games. Now, most of the one-off games I have encountered have been either at conventions or they've been super welcoming and relaxed, and I am so sorry to say that I haven't been able to play, some one-off games or games in different genres, or one of the few Nordic-style LARPs that have been running in North Jersey or New York area, and I would love to. But if it's in a specific genre or time period, I feel so ill-equipped. Because I'm used to I'm used to rolling it as my main character at the same game and just being bam, this character has 4 different outfits and she's amazing. But I'm not going to be that amazingly dressed character in another game.
Or even if we were to say go to another game, how could I roll into another game wearing Ariana's circlet and not play the same character?
It's weird.
How could you even?
Because I have that issue too with some of Ciara's costuming. I do like stuff that I can use for different characters, but it's weird wearing some of her stuff. So what one thing I try to do, and again, it's just cost more, going back on the topic of cost, is make things that are really specific to the character. But it is hard, because you feel it's hard to feel like a different character when you're in their clothing.
Or when you wore Genevieve in a popular NPC from a couple years ago, you wore her dress for your priestess.
Yeah, same kingdom, completely different character. One was an NPC, one's a PC. One got killed off. The other one
Better not.
The other one is a priestess alive and well in the setting of Seventh Kingdom. But it felt weird to me wearing the same outfit and not playing Genevieve, even though it was 2 years. I think it's a less weird for costuming some of the items that my main character Ciara has, because she has a couple of things she wears that really kind of define her. Like she wears a mask, she wears woad, and the other characters I play don't do that. So if I'm wearing like her corset and I don't know the mask and I don't know the woad, and I'm not interacting with, some of the characters she interacts with, then I'm fine. If I am, maybe sometimes I feel a little Ciara-y otherwise.
I mean, regardless if King Baylor walks in, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
Exactly.
You're done.
I'm not. I gotta change. I'm Ciara. So yeah, that's kind of like a difficult thing. You buy like a whole different costume if you go to another game or play another genre. It's hard to say. So yeah, like when I was short on money, I actually was another criticism I had was, hey, if you're poor, why are you LARPing? And I'll tell you the story of being poor and LARPing. When I was poor and LARPing, I was pretty much nearly homeless, as I mentioned before, and a friend, 2 friends actually, both who I knew through LARPing, gave myself and my husband a place to stay for a little while, and I chose to go LARPing anyway for a couple different reasons. Number one, I had no other entertainment. Like, if I can't pay rent, obviously I've already canceled like my cable. Okay, so didn't have that. There was like no entertainment. All my friends were going. It's my only form of socialization, and obviously if you're in the situation where you're about to lose your home, you're kind of like stressed out. I was really stressed out. So this goes to the best event that I ever attended of any game ever, which is July 2013. Seventh Kingdom IGE. And just to give a little background on what was happening, first of all, it was my friend Isabel's first event. She plays the popular character Maeve. And so I wanted to be like happy for her, and I was super excited that she was going to be there, and like I talked to her online forever, and I was like, I finally get to meet her. So that was fun. But some stuff went down, okay? And this is what truly made it the best event for me ever. There was a little incident in main mod, and it was just a brief role-playing note, right? But it drove so much joy for my character and brought her closer to some other characters in just such a different way. It really pushed us to where we needed to go. And it actually really helped bring Isabel's character into the story. And she was new to LARPing, and it just kind of like pulled her right into my character's life in a more significant way. Yeah. And it was very cathartic because there was basically a demon talking to my character, and like I got to react to that. It was crazy.
It was and this is, mind you, it's pouring rain. There's this bony dragon thing on a harness that is running around killing people.
Crazy.
And in the middle of all of this, her character is just freaking out.
Yeah, freaking out. My character's protector, who is also like the tank where she's the healer, dropped to like 1 hit point. That was not good. He's normally a lot tougher than that. And it was just a bad situation. They had like tension between them that isn't normally there because of what was influencing them. And I basically got to scream. And so I had this moment of being completely controlled by something else. And then it rode into like this feeling of wanting control. And that's how I felt in my real life. Like everything was spinning out of control. And I had a real Galadriel moment as my character. Like, people thought, oh, she's so cute, or oh, she has a crush on her king. No big deal, whatever. And she just had this Galadriel moment where she just assumed so much, power and so much anger from what was going on. And she just looked at everyone and she was like, I should be your queen. And everyone was like, what? / whoa. Right?
Whoa.
And that's what drew Isabel in, because her character was new, but her character
just shouted you down.
She did. She just, by force of will, everyone else is calling
she outbarded you there.
Yeah, everyone else is calling effects, and she just used her actual role-playing ability to talk me out, like to talk me down and make me not go crazy. and just the level of involvement that scene involved. I have never been so immersed in my life. Not to mention the fact that, okay, so like in-game, or like out-of-game, I'm so stressed out. And then in-game, I had this cathartic moment, but then I'm still angry because something did this to me in character, you know? And
so it's like, you know, when you're in a shitty customer service job and then
exactly.
you know, you never get to yell back at
the customers.
The people who are being horrible to you.
But maybe there's an NPC you can yell at who's being kind of crappy to you, right? But like after that, you know, then like...
Then it was Christmas.
Well, yeah, then my character and her protector are like, man, let's go hunt for demons. And I'm thinking in the very brief moment that I had where I was even remotely out of game and thinking about it in a not in-game fashion and not completely immersed, I'm thinking, this is good, we'll go off, we'll get some time to role play about like this crazy thing that happened and like reinforce our trust and that kind of thing.
And that did not happen.
Yeah, I'm immersed and I'm like, we're gonna go hunt demons. Then at Seventh Kingdom, occasionally there are like some roaming monsters, you know, wandering monsters, which is cool, which I love about it because you can go out there and just kill stuff whenever. But you can't usually be like, I'm going to go find a demon and just find a specific thing in the woods. We go out and we're like talking it out, like this whole conflict that happened and like, you know, it's okay, I trust you. We're just going to go kill some demons. And then so we're out there and then what do we find? A demon!
Literally, the line was, that's not what you think it is, kill it, it's a demon.
Yeah, and we just looked at each other like, it's freaking Christmas! And hacked that thing up, you know, and so we got to kill the demon. And it also provided, like, a measure of closure, I think, for my character of, like, this horrible thing happened, and then she got to deal with it and process it and take her anger out on something. And then feel like, okay, my protector's trustworthy. He's actually not going to kill me. This is fine. And having that whole experience and having that anger and the yelling and the closure, when I couldn't have any control or no cathartic experience in real life, and when I can't pay $100 plus an hour for therapy, it's definitely more affordable to go to a LARP. So, yeah, it cost me a little bit of money to go. But it was mentally absolutely necessary. Like, it was completely necessary for me to go and have that experience. And, you know, I think it's okay to use role-playing to cope with your shitty financial situation. Because sometimes that happens. So as a result, like, I feel like LARP needs to be accessible to people. Especially because of that. Because people that are feeling financially strained need that outlet at least as much as everyone else. So if you want to go, you should be able to go. Additionally, you can always NPC. In most games, NPCing is very low cost or free, and the costuming requirements are less. I don't know.
Show up in black, generally.
Yeah, at Seventh Kingdom, you just show up in black clothing, and then they provide the rest of the costume that you need to be an NPC.
And all the weapons, all the props, weapons, right. Everything that you need.
All those other costs are gone. If you pre-reg at Seventh Kingdom as an NPC, it's actually only $5.
And that gets all your meals, too.
Yeah.
So you're basically taken care of.
You're actually saving money because they give you a place to stay and they feed you, and it's only costing $5 for the whole weekend. So if you're short on money, NPCing might be a very good way to save money, and if you're new to LARPing, it could be a great way to learn the rules of the game.
So now that we've talked about the expenses of LARPing and how sometimes it can be difficult to afford, let's talk about how you can afford some LARP gear. One of our favorite methods is going to a thrift store.
Yes.
There's actually a very good thrift store near my old college where I got...
I have not been there, and I have to go.
We're going.
Field trip!
It's near where we work. We're going. I've gotten gorgeous, gorgeous things there. I've gotten ball gowns. I've gotten...
I really need to go here.
My character's winter costuming, which is this really nice dress. I've gotten a bunch of skirts. They've had shoes that would have been nice, except they weren't in my size.
I've had good luck at Goodwill. Actually, I wear a gold skirt sometimes as multiple characters. CR wears it a lot. Mm-hmm. And that was a $4 find. Ladies will probably have especially good luck at thrift stores if you're looking for skirts. I've even found some tops that are, they look kind of more like a blousey kind of thing, or like a poet blouse. So
and there's like the gunny sax dresses, if you can find some of those. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, and there are things you can wear if you do get one good like corset costume piece or cincher, you'll have more options because
you can literally go to Walmart and get one of those shapeless tops.
Yeah, like $4, and then like so once you have one nice costume piece, you can just use that. And that just goes over a whole bunch of things, and even probably some things that you have in your real life.
You can get, and you can also get any of the props you need there. Like the Chalice of Mercy that my character carries was $2 at a thrift store, and it doesn't look like it was $2.
Yeah, and you can pick items. It's also a good place to pick up items you can use, not just for most characters, but for multiple characters. So something really generic that you could wear with different characters, and that's actually how my main character started acquiring multiple costumes. I mean, I did used to play a lot of different NPCs, but I started picking out some generic stuff that's like, oh, okay, this could work, this could work. So now it's like she has her own closet. And now it's a closet of mostly $2 items, but like she has one or two nice corsets and a little wardrobe to pick from.
They just pull the outfits together.
They do. They do. And you can also get basic garments on Etsy and eBay.
Now, one thing I would definitely caution you against, especially if you were there for that whole debacle, is please, please, please be careful if you are an odd size, especially if you were like us and short.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much trouble we have trying to find corsets and costuming that fits us because we're short. I'm 5'2", and
I'm 5'1".
It's just,
Yay.
it's just awful. I literally ordered a dress off Etsy where I could take a handful off the shoulders, and I had to pull for it to even think about fitting.
I found some really good basic garments on Etsy and eBay. You have to assume you're probably going to have to alter them though. There was a post going around over in the LARPettes recently. It was about a basic Viking garment. It was like $40 or $50, and it was really basic, but it was really definitely like you look at it and you're like, that's like a Viking lady would wear it. Like it looked like it was out of the TV show Vikings, you know.
And you can get, little vintage jewelry pieces if you really want. If you want to, have a motif to pull your character's costuming together. You can find some nice stuff for under $10 that could, really help you look a bit more put together.
My Genevieve dress, actually, that is now Elaine's dress, was $7 on eBay when I was in college, and I used that for many things. I performed in our Madrigals group with that in college, and now it's a piece of LARP costuming. So $7 over 10 years ago, still being used as costuming. Yay, good find, right?
And Ariana's green and black dress was $25 on eBay as opposed to buying it new for $125.
Oh my gosh.
I was lucky on that one because it's very adjustable in the front and back.
Well, yeah.
And a friend's mother actually hemmed it for me for free. So
now, speaking of hemming, if you're good at sewing, you can make or modify your own clothing.
Yay!
Or you could hire someone in-game to do it for you. Like, we have Doran, among others, and I'm going to single him out in 7th Kingdom, our buddy Nate, because he has some real-life skill with modifying clothing.
And he's definitely fixed stuff for me that's broken.
Yeah,
he's really handy.
And you can just bring him stuff in-game, be like, can you patch this up? And he'll fix it for you. And what does it cost? Usually in-game gold. Excellent.
Yay.
And I think I was supposed to mention this later, but I'm going to mention it now. You can actually, in some games, you can spend in-game gold for real-life goods. So I can pay in-game fake money for out-of-game and in-game things. Like, for example, I've been making money as a bard in my game, making 100 gold a song, right? So I've got a little bit of money now. And out-of-game, I was like, I want to buy a new costume this month. Don't know if it's going to be in the budget. And I talked to Sarah, who plays Malinara at 7th Kingdom, and she was like, hey, I have some things you might be interested in. Do you want to bring some money? So I have more money in-game than out-of-game, but I brought a little bit of out-of-game money. And anyway, long story short, I got a whole new outfit, and most of it was in-game money. So if you're good at something, that's a good way to buy and sell. If your game allows it. In 7th Kingdom, you're kind of allowed to do either thing, so...
It's the only reason my character is money.
Yeah.
Feeding people.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like, that's a great way to make money in-game. And it's a good way to buy things if you don't have a lot of money out of game, is to just be really resourceful in game and get money and then get what you need. If you were in the military, or if you live near a Goodwill or an Army Navy store, you can probably find some military clothing. I think Goodwill is probably cheaper than a Army Navy store. But specifically, if you play like a modern or a post-apoc game, that would be a great, sci-fi. That would be a really good place to go. And unfortunately, I do feel like for costuming, a lot of times it's actually harder for guys. Post-apoc, maybe not, because I think a lot of the good finds might be, better for guys. But, ladies can get most of what they need even for like a medieval fantasy game at Goodwill.
Yeah, if you're not trying to
if you're not trying to be fancy, you're good to go. You can also, if you're looking at role-playing in a post-apocalyptic game, you can also tear and tatter regular clothing. So maybe something you just don't love, or like
stain it, or
you can just kind of wreck it, which is fun. Also rather cathartic. And like my mom always gives me stuff, and I'm like,
cut it up.
You mind if I LARP in this, Mom? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. So some of that has ended up as LARP gear.
You can actually do some really cool knotting in the back if you have a shirt that's too big. You can cut it and then do some sort of artistic tying thing.
And we're going to put some more resources for inexpensive gear over at geekinitiative.com. So if you're interested in LARPing on a budget, you can go over there. We're going to have some links to other articles I've written, as well as some things that our friends have written and good resources out on the internet. So if you have any additional tips or resources, we can actually pop those into that resource list. And you can send those to me by email. Get ready for my epic email address.
Should I drum roll?
Yeah. And no one's going to be surprised at what it is. It is thorfan@geekinitiative.com. Send your resources over to me. If you own a store or something like that, you can do that too. Again, that's thorfan@geekinitiative.com. So to sum it up, we feel like LARP should be accessible to everyone. And yes, you can LARP on a budget. And yes, some games will discriminate, but don't get discouraged. They have the right to hold certain standards, and you have the right to take your business elsewhere if you're not comfortable with them. So, some games have like a really high bar of costuming, and I think it does actually make the game a little bit more immersive when everything around you is like completely medieval fantasy in that genre. But, sometimes I want to wear glasses. What can I say? Sometimes people need to wear glasses. But that's an argument for another time.
That is a fight for another day.
That is a fight for another day. So that concludes the Geek Initiative Podcast, Episode 5, The Cost of LARPing.
For further resources, head over to geekinitiative.com, and thanks for listening.